Welcome to the OtherWorldsGG Community Cast. This is episode number 34. I am Hunter, aka Table for Two, and I am joined today by Mellified and Alienpickle. How you guys doing?
Hey, this is Mellified. I am doing very well. It is a holiday weekend for us here, Labor Day, and can't beat some days off.
Yeah, it is quite nice.
Yeah, are they going to have like middle management day? Because really, it's like the laborers get their day, but the middle management just gets overlooked.
I think the anti-capitalists would claim that every other day is middle management day. But
excellent. What do you guys been playing lately? I mean, we haven't really talked recently about some of the big things that we've been playing. Anything of note that you guys are into?
Well, I've been playing a fair bit of Aliens Fireteam Elite. When I can find people to play with. Playing with the AI is awful, but it's a lot of fun to play multiplayer co-op for sure. Just captures that Aliens vibe, where like Alien Isolation captured the Alien vibe. Aliens Fireteam absolutely captures the feel of being a Space Marine.
Yeah, I just wish that the Alien game from, when was that, 2010 when they made that? If that one had co-op, that would be great. Because it's got multiplayer, but it's like adversarial multiplayer. I don't think it's got co-op in it. But it's, I don't know, man. It's like that game had atmosphere that this one kind of didn't for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's to each their own. I mean, I think part of the problem is, as Mellified pointed out to, and we can definitely talk about it later because I know it's in our show notes, but I guess getting right off the bat, I mean, we can go ahead and talk about it because I've been playing a little bit of Aliens Fireteam as well. The interesting thing about that game, as Mellified pointed out, is that it's definitely better when you're playing with other people, because when the AI does get involved, it just doesn't feel fun. There's a certain element of coordinating with your friends in order to do it. I do think, though, that if I play it more often, I think in order to feel like there's a real challenge, I think harder difficulties are a must.
Yes.
Because there are times where if you set it all up right, you know, you're just a wall of bullets spraying down all of these aliens. There's really kind of no threat. So
yeah, I mean, as you go up in difficulty, it turns off the highlighting when you zoom in on aliens. It also enables friendly fire. So the combination of those two alone makes it significantly more challenging.
Yeah, I feel like the smart gun should keep the highlighting. Gun's not. Or it depends on what optic you've got on the gun, kind of thing.
Yeah, that would probably make sense. I think the reason they didn't do that is if you beat the story missions, it unlocks a 5th recon class, which has a like spotting grenade that you throw out, and then it highlights everything. So I suspect that's why they didn't do that with the smart gun. Yeah. Although it would make sense for the smart gun to do it just for your character versus the recon doing it for everybody.
Yeah, because the smart gun, like, you could look in the dark and see all the aliens, you know, or whatever, but other people can't. So then, yeah.
Yeah, that would make sense.
And also, that's a big problem that I have, is the game is not dark enough. Like, it's too well lit in those places. So maybe it gets that way in later levels or something, but it was like that first space station we were in. It was like being in Sears.
I think that might be overstating it a little bit, but yeah, it is definitely not dark and brooding. They do have DLC planned. The deluxe edition of the game included a pseudo season pass, so maybe we'll get some darker levels as we.
Yeah, because they said there was like 3 DLCs right out the gate, right? So that's a lot.
Yeah, that's pretty exciting. Well, moving right along, I think Aliens Fireteam Elite definitely has a lot going on for it that's good. I think we're all on the same page that we would like to see some more added to it. Some more improvements over time would be nice, but for the most part, it's a pretty good game. I would say on the whole. So
Yeah, I was just gonna comment. I think Jim's onto something. Like if the levels were darker and you had a flashlight, mounted to your gun or something, or your helmet.
Yeah, give it a little bit of the intensity, because I don't feel like that scariness of Aliens is here. I do feel like the vibe of Aliens is here, like where I'm part of a squad and we're killing aliens, but I don't think the tenseness of it of what you're doing is there. You know what I'm saying? The aesthetic is there, but the feeling of the intensity is not.
Well, it's like you got too many hit points. If you get grabbed, you should be dead, right? Because that's
Again,
how it works.
yeah, the harder difficulties definitely amp up things like acid damage that you take, and how much. Some of the alien grabs are insta kills. For the harder monsters, for example, I know on the higher difficulties as well. So I think it's just a question of cranking that knob up. Once you finish the story once, you can go to the really hard difficulties.
Yeah. Game does a job of telegraphing when you're about to get hit, though. It's like,
Yeah.
hey, there's like an ammo crate and 3 turrets that I can deploy here in a chest. Oh, here it comes. And then you got like 2 minutes to set up, and then the aliens are coming, and it's just kind of like, yeah, telegraphed pretty hard.
That's fair. Yeah, it definitely does that.
Well, moving right along, what else we got here? We've got a good bit of news to actually cover today. So, what do we got here, Malified?
Well, the game Sovereign Syndicate is been announced. It's an RPG with a tarot instead of dice. And one of the features, apparently, is that you can play as an alcoholic minotaur.
Excellent.
That's just Tuesday.
Yeah. Yes. Well, I'd never put those two things together in my brain, alcoholic and minotaur. So that definitely sounds interesting. We'll see how good the game is, but it's a good hook.
Well, we're also going to be getting a Crysis Remastered Trilogy, and that's coming out in October. They finally have given us an October release date, but I'm kind of curious though, like, is this a series that needed a remaster?
Yeah, because modern computers are finally able to run Crysis 3, so they gotta like bump it back up.
They have to keep the meme alive. The original, one of the original memes, but can it run Crysis? Yes.
Yeah, it's like Star Trek, when between Star Trek 1 or the Star Trek of the original series and Next Generation, they refactored what warp speeds meant so that they could go lot faster but still call it warp 5.
Right. Oh yeah, that's true.
So now we have Crysis Remastered is now the new benchmark for modern PCs. Good bit of news for Destiny 2 players. Jim, I know you're a junkie. Is that fair to say as the word?
No, I'm
former
kind of
junkie?
like, I played it pretty intensely for a season, and then the next season started, and it was just kind of like, yeah, I'll get back to it, and I haven't got back to it.
Well, they've added a fair bit to the game as far as cross-platform features go. And the latest addition is now that they have cross-platform voice chat. So if you're playing with your friends on different systems, you can actually hear each other without having to go to Discord or something like that. So that's kind of cool.
Randomly match made with Chocolate Milk Kid.
Yeah, about that.
Yeah. Well, another kind of random update. So The Sims 4 has been out for what seems like forever. One of the early add-ons came out in 2015, the Sims 4 Spa Day. And apparently EA is going back and updating it to add features that are available in the newer engine and the newer mod packs for the game. So kind of interesting that they're spending that much time on something that's almost 7 years old at this point.
Well, I mean, it's interesting that you mentioned that because there seems to be a growing trend of games that are coming out that then get stayed out with no new version, and they just keep adding content to that. Like, I mean, I think the biggest one at this moment's got to be Grand Theft Auto 5. Like, right? Like, they keep supporting the crap out of that, and the online stuff just keeps getting content all the time. You know,
that's fair point, but I think what's weird about Grand Theft Auto Online is the game itself doesn't get any new content in terms of single player. It's only the online portion.
Okay,
see that.
Then let's go to another news article and talk about Skyrim. How about that?
Yes. Well, Skyrim Anniversary Edition, not to be confused with the remaster that came out 5 years ago now. Skyrim Anniversary Edition has been announced. It is an updated version of Skyrim that includes over 500 Creation Club mods. So these are mods that have been submitted to the Bethesda mod system. And basically they're going to incorporate all of this additional content into the game and get some more of the expansions in there and more just quests and characters and bosses, spells, dungeons. So,
and if you already have, what was it, the other edition?
The special edition, I think.
You get this for free. Do you not?
I believe you can upgrade. It's not clear if it's a free or will be a paid upgrade. But
yes,
a lot of this is mod content. It kind of seems like it would almost have to be free because people would be pretty pissed off if Bethesda is just cashing in on the mod community.
Kind of like The Sims. So Skyrim is a decade old, right? Like, it came out in 2011. And they keep putting Skyrim on all the things, on all the consoles, and now we're getting this Anniversary Edition update. So I'm just saying that the trend is starting to grow as we're starting to see games that have been out for quite a while just continue to be supported.
What's crazy, like my wife just threw down $40 on EA, right? And I saw it on the credit card, and I'm like, what the hell did you get for $40 on Origin? She's like, oh yeah, there was like a new Sims 4 DLC. I was like, $40?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So they've basically continued to sell that game multiple times. I don't know. She's probably $300 into the Sims 4, a $40 game.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's easy to do with all the add-on content for sure. A bit of nice game preservation news. A company called Sunrise Games has completed a revival server for Toontown Online, which was an early MMO from Disney that was designed to be kid-friendly. And they are also planning to work on a LEGO Universe server so that they can bring that back as well. So
no, that's good. That is good because it kind of sucks that happened the way that it did. So I'm glad that they're working on trying to bring that back. Because the last thing you want to be is Roblox. So,
no doubt.
Yeah. See, the problem is though, as an adult, if you play Disney's Toontown Online, then when you come home, like Chris Hansen is sitting at your kitchen table.
Well, one of the things that Toontown did that was, I think, somewhat novel to protect kids is you can only chat through a wheel of pre-selected choices.
Right.
So you could put together short sentences, but it was always, screened content essentially that you can.
Right. And I think
I've seen a lot of games that actually do that with like emoji or something,
Mhm.
where it's like there's no letters, but
Well,
you know.
and for what it's worth, I mean, there's games out there that have been geared towards kids and like families that have taken a lot of strides to ensure protecting the children. Wizards 101 being one of note, because my wife played it a lot when she was younger, and so every now and then she'll get that nostalgia vibe and she'll want to go back and play it, and I'm like, it's really not for go play WoW or something. And she's like, yeah, but like I just it brings back memories and stuff like that. But there is I got looking into it because I was curious. I was like, if this is for kids and it's an MMO, how do they handle this stuff? And it's pretty well. So I applaud these companies who go through the effort to take care of the kids, because like there's just way too many like creeps out there. It's just it's a shame.
Yeah, you don't want to get too much press for something like that.
Well, right, and this is why Roblox pisses me off so much, is because like they just bought Gilded, right? But like, what is Roblox doing to actually like really curtail and take care of like their core audience? Not a lot, in my opinion. I feel like they're not really investing a huge amount of their efforts into trying to figure that out. And is what I'm trying
like
to
the
say.
last Roblox news that I heard was people were offended because kids were making like mass shooting recreations or something in there.
Yeah, we talked about that, I think, or in our last news show.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's good to bring it up again, because it's like I want Roblox to do well.
It's kids being like, 12-year-old 4chan, right, or whatever. It's that whole like the meme trolling, like don't understand how serious it is. It's all the lulz, right? So it's not like it's adults in there doing it, I would hope.
I think you might be surprised, and
really?
and that's yes, and I think that's the unfortunate thing. Like that's why I feel like, because you don't hear this kind of stuff coming out from Minecraft, at least not on as especially with the way that, you know what I'm saying, like it just seems to be like Roblox is the biggest target for this kind of content shit.
Yeah, I guess because it's unmoderated, right? Like, not like you can really moderate Minecraft either, but even more so in Minecraft, you can do whatever the hell you want because it's your server, and with Roblox, it's their server. So it's, I guess, for that reason, it's kind of on them, right?
Yeah. So anyway, we can get off that high horse for a minute, but it would be nice to see Roblox at least on somehow making it look like they're doing something more than what they're doing now. So anyhow,
well, speaking of high horses, let me get on a different high horse for a second. CD Projekt Red has been struggling to get the release of Cyberpunk 2077 into great shape, I will say. Depending on who you talk to, it's either still broken or reasonable at this point.
I say it's reasonable at this point.
Fair. But one of the things they promised was a next gen version of the game for the newer consoles would be out in the summer, which they were talking August originally. Now they're basically saying they may not ship it even this year, and the promised update of The Witcher 3 may also slip into 2022. Which, is fine, I guess, but it's particularly weird to hear that when simultaneously they're talking about 2 expansions for the game plus multiplayer being back in development, which was one of the original features they intended to release. So, it seems like they're biting off a whole bunch to update the game, but they also want to do stuff that's going to make them money by, selling expansions.
Yeah, but it sounds like they got Baghdad Bob doing their PR. It's just like, there is no problem with the game. Everything is fine.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of been the company line, especially lately. So I just don't quite understand it.
Well, it seems like all the lead people that were working on Cyberpunk have gone on to some like undisclosed title that they're working on. So It's like trying to get some distance from it.
Well, and they hired a bunch of modders from the community to go work on Cyberpunk, apparently. So
yeah, I hear they can get most of Blizzard cheap if they want to.
Ooh,
yeah,
ooh,
yikes!
Shots fired.
All right.
Soon.
Yeah, well, no, I mean,
no,
or not soon enough.
I was about to say not soon enough, maybe.
On a happier note, we are recently Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which is probably one of my favorite open world action games of all time, got a backward compatibility patch to run at 60 FPS on the new console. So if you either haven't played the game or maybe need to go back and do some of the DLC they released, you can do that at 60 FPS now.
Yeah, see, I want that game, but unshackled from historical context limitations, so that you can do like Assassin's Creed and Dragons, right? Because I want just a straight up D&D ass Assassin's Creed game.
That would be
fine.
Interesting.
Yeah,
it's funny because
well, they came out with that one I can't remember the name of, that is kind of like a cartoony Assassin's Creed with a lot of like jumping puzzles and stuff in it. You know, that mythology based thing. I can't think of the name at all.
Oh, Immortal Rise of the Phoenix.
Yeah, that. See, I was hoping that was going to be like a Breath of the Wild style Assassin's Creed, and that would have hit that sweet spot, but it kind of ain't. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think Ubi, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see, their next couple titles, how they do. Watchdog Legion certainly did not do great for them.
No, and they're putting like zombie mode in Watchdog Legions now. It's like, I don't know what that's about, but okay. And then they've got the new Rainbow Six WTF, whatever the heck that game is. What? It's like a hero shooter zombie thing. It's like Left 4 Dead, Rainbow Six.
I'm really disappointed in what happened with the Watch Dogs series, because like Watch Dogs 2 was so good in my opinion. I really liked that, because like 1 was okay. It had some problems, I felt like, especially with the driving mechanics.
Yeah.
But like 2 felt really clean, and you could play that in co-op really well. And I don't know, the story was really good. I felt like the content was entertaining. And then, then the Legion, but it seems like they do a lot of like swing and misses with their stuff. Like Division was okay, Division 2 got better. Then they did Wildlands, and then the second Wildlands was not that great comparatively. Or whatever it was, the other Ghost Recon that they did. So yeah. I just feel like they kind of don't stick to the formula that made the first one good, or like one in the series good, because Watch Dogs was one of those things where they did okay, and then they finally improved upon it, and then they kind of dropped the ball to try to do something new with the third one.
Yeah, what I really want is like a mix of Red Dead Redemption and Saints Row. I'm kind of looking for like a cowboy Saints Row. That would be a good idea.
I don't know how that would work, but okay.
I don't know. I'm looking at the next news item. It says Saints Row heads to the American Southwest in a new reboot.
Yep. They announced at Gamescom last week that Saints Row is getting rebooted. It is no longer quite the gritty street gang setting.
I think they lost that in 2. Like,
yeah, I mean, 2 was still sort of a street gang. 3 was sort of this ridiculous scenario where the Saints get elected to the boss character that you play is elected president.
Yeah, and then 4 becomes the Matrix.
Right. So they're kind of going back to square one with it. People certainly have not been happy with the reveal. I think it's safe to say, or most people. And then that's compounded by the fact that on PC it will only be in the Epic Games Store, which is always fodder for.
Oh, that spices up any discussion. It's like
yes.
you could put checkers on the Epic Game Store, and people would be like, "Frickin' ban checkers!"
Right. So yeah, I mean, I think they've said, hey, this is our vision, this is what we want to do. I'm just not sure, why. I know why they're putting the Saints Row name on it, because that'll sell, but they also, I feel like, need to make some money, because their last game, which was a spin-off of Saints Row, and the name is escaping me. I can picture the cover, but that did not do well. So, maybe
it basically died on arrival, like instantly was dead.
Yes, and
nobody
cared.
It was
about okay. It was okay. Like I played
Agents of Mayhem, I think.
Agents of Mayhem. Thank you. Yes. Yeah. The agents were interesting characters, but the world was a little bland, I think was my big issue with it. So yeah, we'll see how this new Saints Row does, but it's coming out in February, so we don't have to wait too long for it. Bravely Default 2 is now out on Steam. It came out a couple days ago, so this was previously a Switch exclusive and ran at about 20 frames a second on the Switch, so it's great to see it coming to a modern platform with some horsepower.
Hey, speaking of interesting games, I opened up the Xbox thing and I see Craftopia is on there. That's kind of interesting. It's like it's almost like a Breath of the Wild looking game, but it's a very crafting heavy kind of thing. It's a unique animal, right? It looks like a couple of different games, but it's neither, like none of them. Kind of a mashup title. Interesting. That's worth a look, and it's multiplayer. We should play it.
Hey, does this Bravely Default 2 remind you of Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles or whatever?
Yeah, quite a bit. So the original Bravely Default was like a 3DS game, and then Bravely Default 2, is everywhere, right? It's been, I think, like 6 months it's been out on the Switch or something, so it's just now getting a PC port.
That's pretty slick.
It's got the wonderful de novo on it. People are very happy about that.
Nice. Excellent.
Something that people should be happy about, moving on to our next story, is No Man's Sky got another update. I know that may seem a little repetitive at this point, but this one actually looks pretty cool. You can basically be the mayor of your own planetary settlements. You can do all kinds of new missions to help your town grow. You get benefits from having a town. It looks, really neat.
It's kind of like that episode of The Mandalorian where he like rolls into that western town and then like takes over as the sheriff. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it just the feel of the game has always been kind of sterile, and so this makes it feel so much more alive to be wandering around in the town.
Yeah, the one thing though is they broke the shit out of all of my bases. It's bad. Like, did you see the screenshots where like I had that giant pyramid base and now it's like flying in the air and it's like,
oh no,
okay.
Yeah, well, and I think that's the other thing too. When they do this kind of stuff, like I've gone in and I've named some planets and I've founded some stuff and whatnot in my previous run-throughs. I feel like with something like this just is going to require coming back in from scratch and starting all over. At least that's the way I look at it, because the thing that I've learned in previous playthroughs is you don't need to actually build a ground base to really be functional. If you can get a decent sized carrier or whatever, freighter, you can actually build out the inside of that to be what you need it to be to farm everything, and then you can kind of travel that around to wherever you need it to go and find an establishment from there. But like that's the kind of thing that Jim was talking about. Like That's what I would do. I'd almost take the freighter and have it as my home base, and then that way anything that I build down on a planet becomes like a moot point if something breaks with it, you know?
Yeah, did you see the sculpture that I posted in there? The guy like made like the giant robot sitting on the toilet posing.
Yes.
Yeah, that and the boom box is kind of cool. So they if you go into the Nexus thing, then they feature like here's community content, you know, stuff that is kind of cool to go look at. So they waypoint it for you.
Well, last but not least for our community or our game releases and updates, the Wonderful 101, which was another originally a Switch game, is out on PC, and it got a $1 DLC with a new character in it and some new things to do. The game's, if you haven't played it, is kind of an interesting take on sort of a superhero thing where you have 101 people working together to do things, and you sort of lead them around the map and use their abilities to get things done. So certainly a lot of fun, a little bit hard to control on the Switch or on the Wii U originally, but a little bit easier on the PC, I think. So kind of a fun one.
It's interesting. So wait, did you say that this came out on the PC first and now it's on the Switch, or
other way around? It was originally a Wii U game, and then it was ported to the Switch, and then it came to PC and other platform, a couple other platforms like a year ago, maybe.
See, now that's interesting. I wonder. So these are not Nintendo like exclusive stuff. This is.
Well, it was, originally, but yeah, not anymore. These are not. This is developed by Platinum Games in this case, so it wasn't a Nintendo.
Right. So game. my point is though, is I wonder if sales reports are going to show that they do better by selling outside of their marketplace, and whether or not that might be an indication to Nintendo to look at like doing what Sony's doing.
Yeah, like if a game that sells off of their Switch platform happens to make 100 times the money that selling it on their own platform makes, maybe that'll send that message.
Yeah, like what if next Christmas we get like Breath of the Wild on Steam? Like how freaking ridiculous would that be?
That would be pretty ridiculous. I would buy it.
I would buy it too. And I've already,
I feel like Nintendo is basically in this mindset that they are a hardware platform company, and then the games are just to sell the hardware. And it's like, no, kind of the opposite, I think.
Yeah, well, I mean, if anybody should take a note from Microsoft, it should be Nintendo and Sony, but definitely Nintendo. So
well, and it's always been a Nintendo's advantage to actually have like a weird hardware platform that doesn't support porting very well, right? Like you're not going to port like a PlayStation game over to a 3DS.
It's been their advantage and their downfall, though, because that means that any game that's developed for all these other platforms has to get special development for their platform. And not a lot of developers are going to do that.
Or you end up with the game, it's like the game in name only, right? But it's like, was it like Call of Duty Modern Warfare came out on the 3DS, but it was kind of like a top-down Metal Gear-esque kind of game. Right. And it's like, wait a minute.
Well, I mean, and again, it's like the Skyrim thing. Like, why would I want to play Skyrim on this Switch when I can get a better experience playing Skyrim on literally any other platform?
Right. They did not port Skyrim to the 3DS, and I kind of praise their restraint.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that would have been...
It's not too late, though.
That would have been scary. So let's move on to some Xbox and PC specific news. Couple game updates here. Wasteland 3 is getting its final expansion called Cult of the Holy Detonation. I really enjoyed Wasteland 3 when I played it at release. I haven't gone back to the DLC, but maybe when this last DLC is released, I'll go through and play it all. Because I really did have fun with that game.
Yeah, Wasteland is cool because it's like in that middle ground between like the old TSR Gamma world and a Fallout. right? So it's definitely not a Fallout game. It's its own beast, right? But yeah, I kind of like it for that, because it's like I have fond memories of how silly old Gamma World was, right? Like the only thing on PC that kind of approximates Gamma World other than this is oh crap, what's the name of it? It's a roguelike game, and I cannot think. Caves of Cud, Qud. Yeah. So Caves of Cud, it's like you make a character and then you start picking your mutations and stuff, and it's like, okay, well, I'm a human, but I've got lobster claws and I'm psychic and I can teleport things. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And I shoot poison quills out my back, because why not?
Why
right?
not? Yeah.
Yeah. Dude, if you haven't played that and you like roguelike games at all, that game is a worthy investment. It's just ridiculous what's going on in that thing.
Interesting. Yeah, I think the big difference thematically with Fallout and Wasteland, Fallout is this like pseudo 1950s world that came before, whereas Wasteland is actually kind of 1980s technology, and so you have a little bit different vibe just from that, I think. All right, so Halo Infinite is coming out later this year. That is confirmed at this point. Microsoft has announced it. But when the game releases, it will not have the co-op campaign or Forge mode available. So we're not getting those features
at launch
until 2022.
And you know what? I'm okay with that, honestly.
The co-op campaign would have been nice. I've played through several of the Halo games in co-op only. Like, I didn't play them by myself, so I'm a little disappointed by that. But I do understand. I'd rather they get the game out in good shape and have it be fun.
Yep.
Microsoft Flight Simulator is getting multiplayer air races in its first major expansion. The game just recently came out on Xbox, and I think they realized that they needed to spice it up a little bit and create something for people to do besides fly around and look at beautiful scenery.
Yeah, people are a little pissed too about because it came out on Xbox. So when that update came out, then like the PC version had a lot of its like detail stuff turned down, and people were like, hey, now like don't crimp us because you have to fit it on a console, right? It's kind of like what happened whenever Elite came out on the Xbox, and then they took away like the fog in the asteroid fields and made some like glaring visual changes, and it was just like, oh wow, you guys nerfed the hell out of our game so you could cram it on the console. So
I hadn't heard that about Flight Simulator. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. I knew that the Xbox was only on the Series X is only running at 4K 30 frames a second, where on PC you can get higher frame rates. But
dude, if I can get 4K 30 on my PC, I'm happy. So yeah, the fact that they can do it on an Xbox, well, I guess they might have had to turn it down a little bit. Right. So
well, they certainly turned down the detail settings, but I didn't think that affected the PC at all. Like the PC just had better detail settings available, so that's interesting.
Yeah, it's not like they just knocked the sliders down. They actually took, and Microsoft like they came out immediately after and said, yeah, we know, right? We're putting it back, right? It was just like we just had to make this sacrifice to get it out the door, but the next patch, we're gonna separate it.
Interesting.
Yeah,
interesting. Speaking of maybe surprising console ports, Crusader Kings 3, which is the medieval run your kingdom, manage all your family and marry off your daughters to secure the alliances simulator, is coming soon for the Xbox Series consoles. Paradox has made a move to port a lot of their stuff to consoles, but I'm a little surprised to see Crusader Kings 3 on that list, just because it's such a intensive game, and I think it'd be tough to do without a mouse. So it'll be interesting. State of Decay 2, the beloved, I don't know, maybe that's too strong a word. The fun zombie sandbox colony management simulator is getting a new update, which will add the remastered Trumbull Valley, which was the setting for the first State of Decay game. So you'll be able to go back and play that map in State of Decay 2 now. Jim, I know you were playing this again recently.
Yeah, so it's, I don't know, the Trumbull, what was it, Trumbull
Valley.
Okay, because I keep hearing Trumbull County because that's like a county in Ohio. So it's like, oh wow, they got my homies in there, but it's not.
Well, maybe it's inspired by, but yeah, I don't think
it might be. I don't know.
Yeah,
I haven't been there
directly.
in a while. It could be kind of like a zombie outbreak. It's like Xenia.
So I really enjoyed State of Decay 2, but then I realized, you can sort of get to a point where, the idea is that it's almost a roguelike where you beat a map, you dominate, and then you carry over some of your survivors and some of their traits.
Yeah.
To your next playthrough, which
right, and that's kind of where I was. Right, is like I beat the map. Right, I had killed every zombie on the map. Like all the plague hearts and stuff. And I really do like how they changed the dynamics of how plague hearts work. It's just like, well, they have a zone of control around them, and it's like this is where the bad crap spawns from. So, and then each one that you kill, the next one gets harder. Right, so
right.
It's kind of choose your own pain level. It's like do I want to do these missions, or do I want to kill another plague heart and make the whole map harder?
Yeah, I do feel like I need to take another dive back into that game, because there was just a period of time where I just wasn't feeling it. Like, it just didn't do anything for me.
Oh, the new update really made it like much, much better. You feel like you have a sense of purpose now. The problem is I took out the map. I had a base. My base is pimp, right? Like I moved down to the lumber mill, and I've got it all pimped out, and I've got some really cool vehicles that are like some Mad Max zombie smash and shit. And then it's like, oh, I could go to the next map. Well, what do I do? Well, you lose everything, basically.
Yeah.
Bring a vehicle and a couple of people. And it's like, no. Like if I could travel between maps, that would be a different thing, right? Because if it would continue to escalate, right? It's like, oh, well, I've killed like 10 plague hearts here. The next map, that's going to be 11. So it's going to get worse and worse and worse. Then, yeah, okay, because it's continuing to get more difficult. But if it's just like, okay, well, you keep some stuff, but then everything resets back to like you just started again. It's like, no, you're not selling me on that. I'm not feeling it.
Yeah, that's kind of where I stopped playing as well. But I do love the fact the game has 4-player co-op, so maybe we need to fire it up as a OtherWorlds.
Yeah. Oh, I absolutely would be down for that. That would be like no problem. Sold.
Yeah. Very cool. Well, looking ahead to retro, just wanted to note that the Mr. FPGA has another PS1 core in development, this time by FPGA Zumspaz, who...
What a name.
is yes. Well, he's a very prolific developer for Mr. FPGA. He's done a number of the cores. So he's not sure whether it'll even be possible to get the PlayStation 1 working, or certainly, maybe there's some games that may not work. But he's actually got, some early video of him launching this core, and he's already, made quite a bit of progress. So it'll be really exciting to see. In addition, there's a Saturn core in development. So those are two pretty exciting systems to see on the Mister. hopefully this year. For VR news, I Expect You to Die 2 recently came out. By most accounts, I haven't had a chance to try it yet, but by most accounts, it's a really fun sequel to the original. It adds some new elements, but overall, plays like even better version of I Expect You to Die. The hook for this game is you are a secret agent who needs to, you get trapped in various situations and you have to escape from the evil mastermind who's trying to kill you off. But of course, he can't just shoot you. He has to create some elaborate trap that is going to finish you off. So, pretty fun series. Definitely worth a look if you have a VR setup. Resident Evil 2 and 3 are getting VR mods. They're in development now, so you can look forward to even more pants-pooping terror in the Resident Evil games.
Yeah, I'm a pass on that.
Resident Evil 7 has only had a PSVR exclusive VR mode, and that's how I first played the game. And I couldn't play more than about 10 minutes before I was like, nope, I'm done.
I got to the refrigerator. They should have never let you open that refrigerator.
Yeah, that was nasty. I played till I met my spoilers wife in the house and got attacked, and I was just like, okay, I'm out. I can't do it.
Have you ever circled back with one of the spoiler videos and listened to what the actual story of that game is? Because it's kind of interesting.
No.
Yeah, I won't spoil it, but it's interesting. So it's worth watching one of those like plot breakdown kind of YouTube video things.
And then real quick, I wanted to highlight for people who maybe are a little bit newer to VR, one of the fantastic aspects of the Oculus Quest 2 is that you can play both Oculus Quest content on the headset, but you can also connect it to your PC, including wirelessly. There are a couple options for doing it wirelessly, and play, the full range of PC titles, including things like Half-Life Alyx, on this wireless headset. And I just wanted to share that, I mean, to me, this is what VR should have been all along, is no wires. Because I can't stand getting tangled up in cords, and I'm certainly not going to build a ceiling-mounted, cable management system just to play some games. So I really have been impressed with this, and it's fairly simple to do. You just need a decent 5 gigahertz router in your house to do it. So definitely something to check out if you're interested.
As a matter of fact, since I've been in the new house, I've yet to throw on my VR headset, and I really think it's about time that I do, because now I've got because my apartment was small, right? But like now I've actually got space, especially down here in the basement, and especially since I've gotten all the whole place sealed up and the critters taken care of.
I've got you don't want to put a thing on your face and you can't see, because that's when they'll attack, because they know like he can't see us. Get him.
Look, stop getting into my paranoia. Get out of my head, Jim.
Oh,
but
no, I live there too, right? Like,
yes.
You get them open rafters in the ceiling, and you get, spiders are dark, and so are the shadows, so they're all up in there, and they're gonna drop down in your.
Well, thankfully, I've got actual ceilings, so it is like a mostly finished basement. So I don't have to worry about that. But the nice thing is we also have plenty of space like upstairs too. So like, and I've got the 5 gigahertz throughout. So I mean, like, I could really take this anywhere and play it. So I'm actually looking forward to getting into it more, which means that I need to get you two bums in and we can play some stuff together.
Oh, totes.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Let's see. On to Switch news. Rumor is that Nintendo will be adding Game Boy and Game Boy Color titles to its Switch online service.
Okay.
I'm
sorry. I just just dump your library. Just put it on there.
Yeah, dude, if it was like $15 $15 a month and I can play every Nintendo first-party game ever, you got me, right?
Right, 100%.
But if you're gonna make me rebuy it every time, and it's locked to the hardware, so I changed platforms. Oh, now you got to buy.
Well, no,
it.
it's not even that. So they do have that service, right? So their online service does have like where you pay and you can play some of these games. But the problem is though, is it's only a selection of their titles. Like I just dump everything on there, and I will be 100% like, yeah, great. But I kind of get tired of just hearing this, like, hey, we're going to put some more stuff on here. It's probably going to be just a couple of games.
Well, it's like they sell that Nintendo Mini, but they didn't put every Nintendo game that they made for the NES on it, right? And it's like, why not?
Then
I have a ROM collection that's all of them, and it fits like on a thumb drive that's smaller than what that console has.
And then people hack those things, and they load up like 30 games onto it. 40, 50, 60, like they throw everything. They throw the book at it. So it's like.
Yeah, there's like 760 something NES ROMs that are out, right? And that includes like Japanese only stuff or whatever. It's just like I know there's that many files in that folder, so they have no lack of games to choose from.
So good for you, Nintendo. Glad you're rumored to be doing that, but do better.
Yeah.
Another bit of Nintendo news, I just thought this was interesting. The designer of the NES and Super Nintendo retired from Nintendo after almost 40 years. So not too often we hear about somebody working for the same company for that long, although I think it's more common in Japan than it is in the States. But what a career. I mean, what a amazing...
That man's responsible for like 70% of my childhood.
Yeah. Well, I think that's how they end up working there so long, is like their parents sell them to Nintendo.
Oh no!
Grow up.
Oh no!
Like, oh no!
Yeah.
PlayStation news, a couple bits. This one probably belonged more in the funny and strange section, but Sony fans are looking for every loophole to try to think that Starfield, the next big RPG from Bethesda, will be coming to PlayStation. They so desperately are hoping or wanting it to come to their console that they're reading the tea leaves from every announcement that executives from Bethesda.
So here's the deal. If the gaming industry was South Park, PlayStation fans would be Cartman. Like,
oh no.
Like, you're just like, Jesus, calm down.
So like all the people that bought that new Atari 2600 and the Ouya, they're like Timmy, right?
Right.
Timmy. Linux.
So basically, the most recent example of this was the folks from Bethesda commented that Starfield is launching exclusively on Xbox. And some of the PlayStation community took that to mean launching exclusively means that it will later be released on the other platform.
Linux.
Not necessarily.
And, yes. So the final comment from Aaron Greenberg, who is one of the executives at Microsoft, said, "We have tried to be as clear as possible. Not a timed exclusive. This is simply where the game is being made," referring to Xbox. So I just got a kick out of that. Denial is a powerful drug, I guess. I don't know.
Like it look, hold on. It'd be one thing if it was originally promised like as a deal to release on the PlayStation, but it wasn't.
Right. And that's been Microsoft's statement all along. Like Deathloop, which was announced as a timed exclusive for PlayStation, is coming out on PlayStation exclusively for 6 months. Right. And then it'll come to Xbox.
Right.
They honored those agreements, right?
What was that game that came out PlayStation exclusive, and it's kind of like a Dark Souls, but in a space suit, and you're running around on a planet thing? I don't know. It came out some months ago, but I was like, well, that looks interesting. but it's like, oh, it's on PlayStation. I'm like, oh, I won't miss it. Whatever. But it's nice that they do get a few first person or first party like locked in things, right? But I haven't seen anything that's like totally driven me over there. Like, I mean, PlayStation, they got the Spider-Man games, right? That's like a pretty strong thing. Still not enough to sell me a console, but sure.
Yeah, well, and as we talked about before, they seem to be dipping their toe in the PC, release world for a lot of these games. So we may get to play them even if it's a year after it comes out on PlayStation. Speaking of maybe some controversy with PlayStation, Horizon Zero Dawn was a game that was very successful last generation and eventually came out for PC. The sequel is Horizon Forbidden West, and that will be launching early next year, I believe it is. And the game was recently put up for pre-order and officially announced, and all the pre-order bundles and everything were made available. And what people realized is Horizon Forbidden West will be on PS4, it will be on PS5, but you have to buy the game again at full price if you want to get it for PS4, play it, and then later want to play it on PS5 if you maybe are trying to still get a PS5. So there's no free upgrade between console generations, which upset a lot of folks. And it's not even a paid option, like you have to pay full price. So it's not even like there's a discounted upgrade, which is what some publishers have done. So another bit of news from Gamescom. The xCloud service, Microsoft confirmed that this holiday, the Xbox One consoles will be getting an xCloud client, so you can play the latest Xbox Series releases over xCloud on your previous generation Xbox One. So this is a pretty big deal if you maybe haven't been able to get your hands on an Xbox Series X yet. Now you can still, play all the latest and greatest releases, which I thought was pretty great.
Yeah, I mean, I've been tinkering around with in the Xbox app on the PC. They actually have the xCloud stuff in there now, and I've been playing with that, and it shockingly works. Like if you got a halfway decent internet connection, you don't even need anything super duper. It actually just works. Like I was playing Crimson Skies. I was through xCloud playing Crimson Skies on my PC. We're not talking about I was streaming my console in home to my PC or whatever. Like, it was my controller was hooked up to my PC and I was playing it through xCloud, which was pretty awesome. And same thing for like Perfect Dark or was it Banjo-Kazooie and stuff like that. Like I'm constantly just continue impressed like at how Microsoft is managing all this stuff, and then I can translate that to my phone and play with touch controls on some of these games, like Hellblade.
Yeah, but we don't want game streaming to be too good, because then they'll be like, "This is all you need."
Microsoft doesn't care though, right? Because they're still going to sell you a Game Pass Ultimate subscription for $15 a month. That's what they want.
But right? I want to be able to actually have the
for what it's worth.
Local.
And for what it's worth, I agree with you. I think in a lot of ways too. So here's how I look at this. I don't think that they're ever going to, for example, say port their original Xbox console library to PC, right? However, what if they just made all of their original Xbox games available to be played through like xCloud?
Yeah,
like that to me is a fair compromise, or even their 360 library. Like new stuff, you can get it on the PC locally, but any of their legacy stuff you can get through the xCloud. Plus, maybe some of their newer stuff, even if you don't have the Series X yet, you can still play that. Like I just think that the fact that they're giving you all of the options ever is pretty freaking cool.
Yeah, I do appreciate that they've brought over so many of the original Xbox games. The curious omission to me, though, is the Mech Assault 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
It's a first-party MechWarrior game from Microsoft.
Yeah.
And they have not brought it over. It never got even backward compatible to the 360, I don't think.
Look,
No.
what here's what I'm looking for. I want them to be able to take HOTAS support and just give me Steel Battalion. You know? Can we can we talk? Can we talk about that?
Yes. Yeah. Because that was a cool game, but you're kind of limited to, well, you got to have that crazy controller.
That's now like $500 if you look on eBay or some stupid shit.
Right, and I still, even if I had the controller, I can't emulate the game anywhere. So I have to have an original Xbox. So yeah, sucks. But I would definitely play it, and it's like, well, you have to have like $500 controller. I have that. Like, look in my closet. It's called a Thrustmaster Warthog, right? With the I'm ready to go, man. It's like I have a full keyboard and I got a stick and a throttle and 2 sticks and a throttle if I need it, and pedals, and we're ready to. Do you want a steering wheel? I got that too. Like, just let me USB plug this shit in, whatever you need. I got it, and let's go. Because I would really like to play that game, but yeah. It also saddens me that they made a Steel Battalion 2, but it was a Kinect-only game, and it sucked.
That was 3, actually.
There
were 2 for the original Xbox, and then that was the 360 release.
Oh,
when they brought it back.
It was terrible.
Yes.
Just plain terrible. Like, Kinect was never a good game controller kind of idea. It should have been a cool supplement to, but never your primary controller for a game. And I don't even understand, like, I've seen video of how good the Kinect is actually tracking stuff, so I really don't understand why the game couldn't process it, because it really does know exactly where all of your parts are, right?
Yeah, yeah. I think part of that's, and it's never under ideal conditions in the average home, but yeah, it's hard to understand for sure. Well, speaking of expensive accessories, Alienpickle, I know you've got, $2,000 burning a hole in your pocket, and you want to buy a new SSD.
I wish a liquid-cooled SSD, though, that I could use, because then it wouldn't throttle itself.
Yes, well, yeah, adequate cooling is still important for your SSDs, that's for sure. But
no, I saw an article that there's a liquid-cooled SSD, and I was just like, but why, though? Like, I don't need liquid-cooled RAM, do I? Maybe I do.
Well, do
SSDs get hot?
They do. They can, yes. Yeah.
Okay. Maybe if you're, like, mining, like, SSD coin or whatever the hell that's called.
Yeah. I don't know under what conditions, but I know that they definitely have a heat throttle feature to them.
Oh.
But Sabrent has a 4th generation NVMe SSD called the Rocket 4 Plus, which has been out in a 4 terabyte capacity. If you're not familiar, Hunter, Table for Two, take a guess at how much a 7 gigabit a second 4 terabyte SSD will run you.
$600.
That is low. It is actually $1,000 SSD.
Oh, I was going to double that. So, okay.
Well, and so the 8 terabyte, if you imagine it's double the capacity, and that probably comes at a bit of a premium. We're probably talking about a $2,100 SSD. So, start saving your pennies, kids, because
yeah. What I really want is a place that I can park 8 terabytes of data that can just silently fail, that I'll lose all that data without any kind of warning. At least like hard drives, they tend to degrade. They give you a little bit of a warning when they're on their way out. And, if you choose to ignore that, it's on you. But generally, you'll start getting some errors and you'll be like, this thing's not long for this world. But SSDs, it's just like, surprise, it's gone.
Well, what you are saying, what I'm hearing you say, Jim, is that you clearly need 2 of these 8 terabyte SSDs so you can run them RAID 1.
That's
have a
probably
backup.
not correct either. So I would actually run a spinner because it's cheap, and that would be the backup. And then I would use the SSD as the actual thing. So, because it's not really like write speed that I want from the thing usually.
Yeah,
it's like
yeah,
read
that would
speed,
be interesting.
right? So if I'm reading, it doesn't really matter. If I'm writing, go ahead and mirror. I can wait for the I/O.
Yeah.
Or just mirror it at night.
Yeah, just mirror asynchronously. Yeah, I think that tiering, essentially tiered storage, would make a lot of sense. AMD's motherboards actually have that as a feature now. I don't use it, but I'm aware that it's available.
That's very modern of them.
Yes. It's almost like the storage industry has been doing this for 10 years.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, wow. You
All right,
have tiered storage too, and then the computer can figure out what needs to be on your SSD based on your access patterns.
What an interesting idea. All right, well let's go on. We talked about a story, I think, last time, where we had a number of RTX 3090 cards that were basically melting down playing the Amazon Game Studio MMO New World.
Oh yeah, I saw that they put out a video where EVGA explained how. Yep. Yeah, I haven't watched it though, so please explain for them.
Yeah, well, basically what EVGA came out and said is that they actually had a batch of 3090s that had bad solder joints on them. And so as the card heated up, the solder joints broke on some of the chips on the board, and that's what was causing these failures, and that it was
it's like a red ring of death happening there.
And they've replaced these cards for free under warranty for the people who were affected, and they basically said it was a quality control issue. You know, they don't expect it to be repeated. So,
but that's the only game that could make those cards hot enough to do it.
Yeah, that part they kind of said it wasn't New World's fault. It would have happened sooner or later, but it is interesting that New World seemed to be the trigger there. I guess the uncapped frame rate was pushing the cards harder.
I wonder how a 4090 would do with it.
Well, we'll find out.
That video was amazing.
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
It was like it's all fans. I don't understand.
The TI model. Oh my god, I about fell on the floor.
Yeah, it was like it was basically like a computer case full of fans that was plugged into a motherboard.
Oh my
amazing! Dude, like sometimes people spend a lot of money on making a meme. And it's like a 5-minute video that probably cost him $1,000 to just buy all those fans.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, you guys, we've talked about it on the show a few times. DLSS is Nvidia's technology for AI upscaling, which allows you to render a game at lower resolution, get better frame rate, and then upscale it for free, air quotes. And that improves the look of the game as if it were rendered at the higher resolution. So the one problem with this is it's a new technology and it's rapidly evolving. And so older games that have released with this DLSS aren't getting updated as often. So they're not taking advantage of the updates to this technology. Well, it turns out that all you really need to do is change out a DLL file in the older games to get them the latest features from DLSS, the better quality, better performance, things like that. So there's a tool called DLSS Swapper available now that will go in and grab the latest DLSS DLL and update your games for you if you go through and do that. Now, obviously, the developers aren't testing this. There could be compatibility problems, but generally speaking, when people have done this, they've found it to be a nice free upgrade for their games. So something to check out.
It's almost like the game has its own DirectX packed with it, and then you just update DirectX in the game.
Yeah,
I mean it's not really DirectX, but it's that thing, right, where they offload the interface to some exterior module. So I'm kind of curious why they don't just make it a system level module instead of packing it in. But then again, you get into like DLL hell, right? So
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but yeah, it sure seems like they could have, if it's that easy to just drop in the new update. Speaking of updates, Nvidia Broadcast, which is a little utility that's free, you can use it on newer Nvidia cards, and it does things like background removal for video and audio noise filtering. Got an update, and the big the big update, or the big feature of this update, is higher pitched voices work better, and people with loud voices also work better with the technology. I guess it was filtering out some
so
streamers.
basically it's powered by annoyance, right? Like if you're loud or squeaky.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
All right, so the modern challenge of gaming without a strong internet connection. Ars recently published this article talking about how games now are so dependent on internet access that it's actually, cutting out a lot of gamers from the market. 13.4% of U.S. households have no internet connection. 0.5% are still on dial-up, and 4% are on satellite connections, which means, we're talking about roughly 20% of the market in the U.S.
I had no idea we had such a high Amish population.
Oh, well, but I mean, in some rural areas, like, you just don't have a choice. There's no good options for internet, and in most U.S. cities, you only have one, really,
right.
in most cases. So,
yes,
thank
you, urban monopolies, municipal, whatever, cable company stuff. Like, who thought it was a good idea to give the cable companies domain over the internet, which would directly compete against cable in the near future of the internet back then? So probably not good. But it's also a thing, like here in North Carolina, we had a town that decided, like, screw you guys, we're starting our own ISP.
Mm-hmm.
And we're just going to be like a cooperative, collective ISP in the town. And the cable company was just like suing the shit out of the town.
Yep.
Like, you're not allowed to do that. It's like, whoa, welcome to America. This is how we do.
Well, and AT&T is notorious for doing the exact same thing, where they, any municipal Wi-Fi or municipal broadband, they will tie it up in court for years. Chattanooga, Tennessee, famously, is one example of that. It's really disgusting.
Hey, why innovate when you can litigate? Yeah,
exactly. That just angers me. But I thought it was an interesting point that a lot of people haven't considered. That hey, there are folks out there who don't have great internet, and in a world where a 200 gig, 250 gig game like Call of Duty gets patched pretty regularly every week or two. And when it does, those patches can be gigs and gigs and gigs. It's not really feasible to play that game.
Yeah, kids today will never know the pain of trying to download a floppy disk at 300 baud.
Yes, well,
770K is a lot of K at 300 baud.
Yes.
It's like, how many hours have you got?
Leave the computer on overnight. I remember that. All right. So on a sad note,
what, that was the happy story?
That was the happy story.
Oh shit.
So it's gonna get worse. Strap in, kids, because we're going on a roller coaster ride. The PS5 and Xbox Series X are still, rare. They're hard to get. That's because of component shortages, and those may last well into 2023.
Does that just depend on whether China invades Taiwan on schedule or not?
Well, I think it's more to do with, the global supply chain just has been very slow to recover and get back up to, mass production. In addition to that, what we've heard from TSMC and Samsung, two of the larger chip manufacturers, is they are raising their prices, their wholesale prices, 20% across the board to basically accommodate inflation and the cost of materials. So it's very possible that even when we do get these consoles, they will be, $550, $600 at some point rather than $500, just because of the higher cost of manufacturing. So it definitely seems like we're in for a bumpy ride here. For a little while.
If you look at what the dollar has done since the first Xbox came out at $500, and now the new Xbox comes out at $500, but the actual purchase power of $500 is about half. So the console has stayed the same price, yet been halved in price, pretty much.
Yeah. Well, and I remember the VR headset that I worked on in the 90s was $800 in 1995, which in today's prices is well over $1,000. So
wow. Were you working on that Sega headset that was like 12 frames a second?
Yeah, no, it was the Forte VFX1, which was a whopping 320 by 200 per eye, and worked with popular games of the day such as Rise of the Triad, EF 2000, Eurofighter 2000, and Doom.
Oh.
So it was.
Can you imagine how far ahead of the game Nintendo would have been if they'd have just had a head strap for that Virtual Boy? You just bolt it onto your face and it's a VR headset.
Yeah.
But it would be just vector VR.
Amazing.
Yes.
All right.
I remember that. I remember that Sony one that they were working on. Right. It was like for Genesis, and it was a VR headset thing.
Yeah, there was one for the Atari Jaguar too that was shown at a few trade shows. So, Windows 11, we got a release date for the next operating system. It'll be out October 5th. I have a feeling this is going to be a disaster, guys. I turned on the FTPM in my CPU and booted up my machine, and it secure booted, and Windows was happy as a clam and said, "You're ready for Windows 11." And then I rebooted my machine and it wouldn't boot. And I had to reboot it about 20 times to get back into the BIOS and disable the FTPM so that it would boot again. I don't know what.
That is sweet. What is FTPM?
Yeah.
Is that
TPM is Trusted Platform Module, which is required for Windows 11.
Right. The reason that I can't install it on mine because I don't have one.
Well, and the FTPM is the one that's built into a lot of CPUs where they just, it's part of the CPU rather than needing a separate module. Yeah. But, at least in my case, the support seems, poor at best. So.
Well, I heard like the TPM things that you can buy to actually plug into your motherboard, like because Windows got announced with that. So there's been a run on them, so you can't buy them because people are scalping them for like $1 gajillion on eBay.
Yeah, I have one on order for my new build since July, and
really, like new build didn't come with one.
It there's a spot on the motherboard for the standalone TPM,
right?
Which
I just can't believe that a brand new build doesn't have it built in.
Well, especially because it's required for Windows now. So that's why I was trying the one that was built into the chip, which clearly was not working well. But it's a $20 part is the silly thing. But I can't get one because they're back ordered through the end of September. So hopefully it'll arrive before Windows 11 actually ships, and then I can drop it on my motherboard, and hopefully everything just works. But
I think this is going to be like they're going to have to back down on that shit because so few people are going to actually be able to install Windows 11 on day one. It's just going to be like new OS is out, cool. 1% of our population actually can use this, so and it's not like people are going to run out and buy a new machine like, woo, Windows 11, got to get a new box.
Especially with the economy and how much computers are costing these days.
If you can even get one, that's the thing, right?
So we'll see what happens. I gather that the plan is all the manufacturers are going to ship BIOS updates, which will turn on the on-chip TPM by default. And that'll be the Windows 11 ready BIOS. But like I said, that's what I did for mine manually, and it caused me some serious problems. So it'll be very interesting to see how this plays out. For gamers, the reason that you might want Windows 11 and you might want to jump on that bandwagon is you're getting the latest version of DirectX 12. You're getting the new Direct Storage API, which first released on the Xbox Series consoles, and it streamlines the access to storage, so you get a lot faster load times in your games. And you're getting Auto HDR, which basically uses AI to add HDR highlights into games that were never designed for HDR. Some people, certainly there are games where it doesn't work as well as you'd hope, but you can go in and turn it off. But in a lot of cases, it makes games really pop if you have HDR. So that's kind of the selling point why you might want to try and get Windows 11, I guess. But I suspect the average consumer, it'll be a while.
I think, I don't know. For me, it's that I'm being told that they finally got rid of having two separate control panels, things like that, so it doesn't feel like Windows 10 bolted on top of Windows 2000 or whatever, right? Because that's kind of how it was, right? Is we still have some Windows XP looking stuff in here, but then we put our new whatever their common Windows platform, whatever that was, right?
UWP, Universal Windows
UWP,
Platform,
right? Yeah, yep. And so it's half the OS is in that, but then we just didn't have time, I guess, to convert over the rest of the control panel to that. And it's really? But Windows 10's been out for how many years? It's been 7, 8 years.
Yeah.
Haven't had time to catch up on that yet, huh? Come on, guys.
Yeah, I think it's just they didn't make it a priority, but it seems ludicrous. All right, well, we got a few more stories to get through. I know we're over our usual time, so I'll run through these pretty quick. If you wonder why Epic Store has been giving away free games so often, they've been doing every week for the last year and a half, I think, maybe longer. They gained 7 million new when they put up GTA 5 as a free giveaway. So that's 7 million people that went and registered an account on the Epic Store. And obviously they're hoping they'll get some number of those to buy games from Epic. As a result,
it was all the GTA hackers with how many accounts can we make each, so that we can be dropping money on people in GTA.
Kids in China are now restricted to just 3 hours of online gaming per week. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know what to say to that other than it is what it is. I mean,
well, I know a lot of, one of the areas where China has been dominating economically lately is video games. Tencent owns a good piece of several different gaming companies, and they're pissed. They're not happy about this because it directly impacts their business. So it'll be very interesting to see if if this sticks or they can pay off the right ministers in the government to get this reversed. But
what if video games actually are a Chinese plot to rot our brains and then make us easier to conquer? And that's why they're protecting their own children from it, because they know what they've made.
Right. Could be. Konami is switching off the Metal Gear Solid 5 Phantom Pain PS3 and Xbox 360 servers. I didn't even realize that those games were on PS3 and Xbox 360. I guess I thought that
Metal Gear Solid multiplayer.
5. Well, I thought that game was on the newer consoles. I didn't realize that it was.
Oh, yeah, it's on the older stuff too. Yeah.
Huh. So-
I'm shocked actually that it, because like who bothered,
Right.
back then with those. But yeah, I don't know. But I guess they're just shutting off multiplayer support, right? Like in a modern console, if they said, "Hey, we're shutting the servers down," that's kind of like, well, you're not going to play that game anymore, because
Right.
right. So it's a different thing. It's just like, well, that won't be missed. But if it was like, hey, you can't even boot this game anymore, that'll be this gen.
Yeah. Well, it's depressing to think about, but yeah, you're right. So a man recently invaded a live TV show, on German TV called Beat the Star, and
did he beat the star?
Well, no, his request on the show was demanding an update or the Grand Theft Auto 6 release. So,
what the hell?
Yeah, it's just sort of a bizarre story.
It's like a hostage situation, right? Like the cops are outside,
yes,
and they're like, "Does he have demands?" Yeah, he wants like a helicopter, $1 million, and GTA 6.
Yep.
That's ridiculous.
So we have another entry in the esports scene, guys. A new game is coming out. It's dominating. Well, maybe that's stating it a little strongly, but you could win 40 grand in the latest tournament. Any guesses as to which game I could be talking about?
Has to be related to Nexon.
Well, go ahead.
Apex Legends?
Stardew Valley has
Say
a
what?
$40,000 esports tournament going on. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Okay. I mean, if Farming Simulator can be an esport, I guess anything can. That just baffled me. But
yeah, that's a thing, right? Like, yeah, speedrunners though. Like, have you ever watched a speed run of Stardew Valley?
Not of Stardew Valley, but certainly in general. I can't even imagine. So I guess, I mean, I guess it's a skill like anything else. But
yeah, it's like whenever I want a awareness of how much I suck at a game, I just turn on Games Done Quick and watch somebody blow it out in 5 minutes.
Yeah. The game Deus Ex Human Revolution, which was a sort of reboot of or reimagining of the Deus Ex franchise, had its 10th birthday recently, which just makes me feel old. I wanted to highlight this because it's a neat little milestone, obviously, but also because I think this is one of the significantly underrated games of the last 10 years or so. It's a great action shooter. It's got great RPG mechanics. You can legitimately solve the puzzles in the game multiple ways. You can go stealth, you can go action, you can build your character to be successful in either of those paths, which is really tough to do from a game design standpoint, I think. So well worth revisiting if you haven't played it. It's a super fun game, and of course you can get it on Steam.
You want to freak out, right? Like, what else is coming up on a 10th anniversary? Star Citizen.
Well, it's funny that you bring that up because that's actually one of our last stories here. There was recently an article on Tech and Gaming just sort of summarizing the state of things with Star Citizen. And their headline was a $400+ million gaming project with no release date in sight. I know some of our community members, including Table for Two, have been playing it again recently. And so I wanted to, maybe you could give us kind of a state of affairs from your perspective.
Look, I don't work for RSI. I cannot give an official statement.
Well, what are your impressions, though?
No. Okay, so my relationship with Star Citizen goes back to its origins, right? So I backed the game on Kickstarter, way back when it was on Kickstarter, and both Alienpickle and I used to be part of another community that was heavily involved with space games, and there was tons of controversy over the years. We've even had conversations with a pseudo famous person by the name of Derek Smart on who is. It's funny that he is so critical of Star Citizen when his own games are questionable as well. Although I dare say he did release games.
Is a generous term.
Well, the reason why I say that is because he did indeed actually release games, as opposed to the good, bad, or otherwise, they were released. And you can't really say that for Star Citizen. However, I've been playing recently on their latest version, and shockingly, the bugs are they have fleshed it out rather well. It still needs work, obviously, but like I can actually play the game and make persistent like upgrades to my account. I can actually make money in the game and buy ships in the game. Like I've actually been able to make money in the game and buy like cars and miner ships and all kinds of stuff, armor, guns, upgrades, and that stuff gets tied to my physical account. So when they do upgrade the version to something new, they wipe your character, so you have to make a new character when a new version comes out. But all your assets that you buy within the game anytime you play get bound to your account. So that way nothing is actually lost. Money, reputation, you name it. It's all physically tied to your account. So I say that they're actually coming along well. I make a prediction that Star Citizen will be released in 2 years. And consider this. I know that it's the most money involved like game of all time and it hasn't released yet. But when you consider that there are some games that we just don't know their development cycle, get worked on for like 10 plus years also, and then they get launched. But we don't know about them coming out until like 2 or 3 years before they come out because they're not ready to disclose it. This has been one of those rare moments where we've seen a game from inception to potentially fruition, although it's had the most money tied into it that we've ever seen before. So maybe there's something to be said about that. I'm not trying to be a Star Citizen apologist or defendant. I'm just trying to be neutral optimist. So
they actually finally put a game in the thing after 10 years.
Right. So there's
no longer just a tech demo.
Right. There is something to be said about it at its current state. Finally. So
yeah, I feel like they've just remade the game how many times, right? Because like the tech has changed along the way, and they've kind of like Origin of old, right? It was like, do you remember back in the day with Origin games? It was always like, well, this game comes out and next year people will have a PC that can run it. And I feel like this game was kind of that way too, but they've just always kept it like unoptimized, like a leap ahead of everybody's hardware. So it's finally getting to the point where it's like, okay, it's getting optimized down to where people can actually run it and get 30 or 60 frames a second. They figured that culling issue out. I still can't believe that they had that problem, right? Like it's like, hey, we're going to simulate the whole universe, but we're not going to actually cull things out of RAM. So we're going to load the entire universe into RAM, no matter where you are. Like every object in the game gets loaded, kind of thing. And it was just like, wow, you guys have programmed before, right? So yeah. They've had to go back and like refactor that thing. They've probably made Star Citizen like 5 times by now, and yeah, it just gets better every time. But I feel like every time they do like a point release, it's actually like a full recode.
Yeah, and there's something to be said there. But if you guys are interested, you guys can all come to our Discord, and I will be happy to do some gameplay sessions with you all and like show you what's up. And
well, let's do it, man, right now. Let's go. Well, after the show.
Sure. There you go.
Well, so one thing I confess to ignorance, right? I didn't back it. I just didn't buy into, Kickstarter at the time as being viable way to deliver these products or projects.
Rooster disapproves.
Yeah, he's not impressed with Star Citizen, I guess. So I never bought into it, and now that it's actually got some gameplay apparently. Jeez Louise. Sorry guys, the rooster's very vocal today. Now that the game's actually got some gameplay, like I'm kind of interested to try it. How do you get it? Like that's the part I haven't actually been able to figure out.
So you go to their website and you purchase a package of whatever it is, and then you can download the game. However, what you can do is you can also wait till one of their free fly weekends that they do, and you can download the game and play it for free. All you have to do is make an account, and you can test out the game during one of their free fly weekends. That is hands down probably one of the best ways to see what the hype is about. And they do free fly weekends like every couple of months. You'll get another weekend where they are showing off stuff that's going on. So for what it's worth, there's that. So
all right. Well, I think we've covered just about everything in our show notes. The last story that I wanted to mention, and I think this is a great note to go out on, there was a product put on sale that you might want to check out if you are a Nintendo DS user, not the 3DS, but the DS. Amazon apparently found a box in the back of the warehouse somewhere because they are selling the Nintendo DS web browser cartridge for $26.38. So this will let you get online and browse the web on the tiny DS screen for just $27 plus tax.
I am shocked that you had to have a cartridge to do that, because the DS had like an online store, didn't it?
Yes, it did, but it didn't have a browser.
I know, but I can't understand why they didn't distribute it on the online store.
Yeah, well,
cartridge is it? You know what would be the best, right? Is if it was actually like Netscape Navigator on a cartridge.
Yeah, well, the funny thing is, it's so old that it's got a ton of security issues. It has trouble even loading images, complex pages. And it's got a format at super narrow, and the memory available to this thing is only 8 megabytes. So you can imagine there aren't many websites that would actually be able to load in that. So
good God,
something to giggle about as we call it a wrap, I think.
Well, was the DS itself limited? Like games on it only had 8 megs to play with?
I gather this was 8 megabytes of memory in the cartridge, so I don't know what the actual DS memory is offhand. I wouldn't be surprised if it's pretty small, though. It's been a lot of years.
Well, my first gaming PC had 4 megs of RAM in it, so sure.
Well, yeah.
Well,
right,
this
Hunter, why don't you take us out?
Yeah, this has been a fun chat, a long chat, but well worth it. I like it a lot. We're still running our giveaway over on our Discord server, so feel free to come over and check that out. 100 for 100. So we got some Amazon gift cards we got to give away, and we've also got some game servers, Battlefield 4, Unreal Tournament, those kinds of things. Again, feel free to come on over and check those out. Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I don't think that's it. This has been episode number 43. Or wow, no, 34. I'm dyslexic. Yeah. 34. See you later.
Yeah.